Chaos in Kiev. The number of dead rises, with 25 people confirmed killed as armed rioters clash with police in the capital. Videos and pictures emerging of protesters attacking security forces with guns, explosives and Molotov cocktails. In other news on RT International, the German Chancellor will discuss how to keep Europe's online communications safe from America's spies. This at a meeting with the French president. And farmers in Greece are stopping traffic. Angry over their economic plight, they're joining together in a protest motorcade against the tax regulations affecting their industry. The top world headlines live for you right here on RT International. I'm Rory Souchet. Thank you for joining us. The last 24 hours have been the bloodiest in Ukraine's history as an independent nation. These are live pictures for you right here from downtown Kiev. The health ministry has confirmed that clashes between protesters and security forces have left 25 dead. Among that number, 9 policemen, mostly killed by gunshots. Alexei Yarashevsky is in the midst of it all.
Just when everyone thought things were going to calm in Kiev, it is on fire again. The police are just behind this fire barricade, and they're moving in on the protesters. We can hear flashbangs exploded all the time. Rocks and Molotov cocktails are thrown at the police all the time. This is the pile of rocks, which is the protesters preparing to hurl at the police. Pretty much the scene which we have been seeing over the past several months, just a few meters from here at the governmental quarter. The governmental quarter itself is totally blocked right now. You can't get in because it's cordoned off by the police. They are storming the Independence Square, the famous Maidan. They're pretty much all over the place. This new mayhem started after the opposition organized the so-called peaceful march to the parliament, and after that things went violent. It's still unclear who initiated those riots, but this has been pretty much the scene of Kiev on Tuesday. Explosions, fire, total mayhem. The whole city is cordoned off. Now the government of Ukraine has imposed a curfew that no cars can get inside the city by after midnight. And so far, to be frank, we haven't seen major violence coming from the police over the past several hours when they moved in to the square to reportedly disperse it. But right now it's very, very loud. The barricades have been dismantled just over there. The barricades which have been here for more than 2 months. Another barricade on that side over there has also been dismantled. So nobody knows where it's going to go. It's pretty much a monkey with a grenade situation.
RT's Alexei Yarashevsky right there, keeping us up to date with the latest from Kiev. He's also posting video from the center of the protest inferno on his Instagram page. The police lines are just 20 meters from where he took this on his mobile phone. You can follow Alexei Yarashevsky for more first-hand videos directly from the front line. Well, for the meantime, though, there have been a lot of accusations of both sides in the ongoing conflict, both sides using live ammunition. Well, so far we have seen pictures showing some protesters with real guns. There are camouflage men allegedly firing live ammunition. The rioters are also attacking police with showers of Molotov cocktails and rocks. And this is the moment where the protesters used a truck to ram into the police. And a foreign affairs expert, Nebojsa Malic, he says those behind the protests are deliberately ramping up the violence.
I think this was a planned escalation. This was a planned push that people behind the demonstrations and behind the protests organized in order to push the government into finally capitulating. The demonstrators have always refused to take yes for an answer. No matter how hard the government tried to appease them, they've always pushed for more. And I think this was a part of another push. They're going for broke. They've been out there for 3 months now. They need to show some results, and they've decided that it's either going to be victory or death, and they don't really care who lives or dies in the process.
All right, let's look back at how the situation unfolded in Kiev on Tuesday when the violence returned to the Ukrainian capital. First, the opposition rallied the crowds and urged them to march on Parliament. And trouble began right there when radical protesters broke through the police lines. And the situation escalated even further when rioters tried to storm the office of Ukraine's ruling party, then setting it on fire. And as it all continued, the police struggled to contain the thousands of protesters throwing Molotov cocktails and rocks and debris, some even using a truck to try and break through the security cordon. Now, 3 people were killed, becoming the first victims of the street violence, which then continued to escalate. And less than 2 hours later, a police officer was killed when protesters attacked security forces. Well, Western governments, which have been very supportive of the Ukrainian opposition, are calling for an end to the unrest and are putting the blame largely on the authorities. Now, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden has phoned President Yanukovych and told him to pull back government forces and exercise restraint. Another statement from the White House urged the Ukrainian leader to take steps to resolve the crisis. Sweden's foreign minister warned the EU is ready to retaliate and punish anyone they believe is responsible for the violence in Ukraine. And as RT's Gaine Chichikan reports, outside involvement goes way beyond the statements calling for peace.
From their podiums, administration officials say it's up to the Ukrainians to decide their future. But the work that they do behind the scene does not look like they want to leave it to the Ukrainians to decide. Moreover, it seems Washington doesn't even want to leave it to the opposition to decide on its future. In the leaked conversation between U.S. Assistant Secretary of State and the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, they were talking about who of the opposition leaders should be in the government and who should not. Here's a bit of that conversation.
The Klitschko piece is obviously the complicated electron here.
I don't think Klitsch should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea. I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. What he needs is Klitsch and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them. So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, you know, the EU.
The context of the conversation suggests that they're talking about managing Ukraine's opposition leaders, sort of handling them and moving fast before those leaders figure out on their own what to do. And the opposition leaders have certainly been looking to the West for support, not just Washington. 2 opposition leaders, Arseniy Yatsenyuk and Vitaly Klitschko, just got back from Germany, where they met with the German leader, Angela Merkel, and discussed Ukraine's political future. These kinds of meetings, of course, bolstered the opposition's profile. And in a chaotic environment, many things become possible. Opposition leaders know that. And at the moment, it may not be in their interest to really try and lower the temperature, the violence on the streets of Kiev.
RT's Gaine Chichikan right there. Just want to show you again, these are live pictures coming to us directly from downtown Kiev. It has been the scene now for the past 36 hours of extreme violence. We've had at least 9 police officers killed, allegedly from gunshot wounds. So let's get the very latest what's happening and what's continuing in the Ukrainian capital. RT's Yegor Piskunov now joining me live from there indeed. Yegor, it's daylight where you are. We still see the smoke. We thought the worst of it was over, but now apparently it's still going on.
Well, things have quieted down right now compared to how they were over the night, but lots of people are still on Maidan Square. They're calling on the others to join the protest. Riot police are there as well, and they have managed to push out the rioters from a large part of the square. So far, it's more or less peaceful, but tensions are really, really high. In fact, several whole districts of central Kiev look like battlefields with boulders ripped out from the pavement, with smoke, with barricades. Flames are still coming out of the House of Trade Unions, which used to be the headquarters of the opposition, but it caught fire over the night during the heavy clashes between the rioters and the police. Authorities are blaming the radical right-wing rioters for setting the house on fire. Allegedly, they say there could have been arms there inside of it. They wanted to destroy this evidence. With 41 people were evacuated from the building. Several of its stories collapsed, and while it looks really damaged right now from the outside. Now, President Yanukovych is blaming also the radical right-wing protesters, the rioters, for opening fire, for firing live rounds at the authorities, and he also met with the leaders of the opposition, calling them not to take the side of the rioters.
I have made a strong appeal against resorting to radical action, but I wasn't heard. I repeat it once again and call on you. It's not too late to stop the conflict. it's not too late to save Ukraine.
Now, frankly, it's not clear who opened fire first, but these were live rounds shot there overnight, and there are injuries and fatalities on both sides, both among the rioters and the police. But like I said, right now, it seems more or less peaceful, but tensions are really high, and who knows what could happen next.
Well, I'll continue to check in with you throughout the day. RT's Yegor Piskunov there in central Kiev. Thanks very much. Well, in the meantime, the unrest has also spread to regional centers in western Ukraine. Rioters have been seizing local government buildings and police stations. This in the cities of Ternopil, Lvov and Ivano-Frankovsk as well. In fact, in Lvov, the regional prosecutor's office was torched by radicals who earlier broke into the building and quickly burnt criminal files. And around 2,000 stormed an internal ministry security base there, with 30 members of the military being badly hurt as well. Well, Andrew Krieg researches the work of U.S. government NGOs in countries like Ukraine. He says they are continuing their long history of meddling behind the scenes.
There's a long-standing effort of democracy building, and often that involves things like free press and voting reforms and things like that. And that's part of it, but also part of it is more representation for those parts of the Ukraine that want a more independent status, or even influence over the government, as Ambassador Nuland said. But those demands, those requests by the Western government have to be looked at, that it's almost contradictory to be orchestrating changes in another sovereign country while saying, oh, we are in favor of democracy.
Also, a local journalist was among those killed in the clashes. He allegedly died from a gunshot wound. Now, some of the footage emerging from the street violence in Kiev demonstrates the confused situation there. Have a look at this picture. It's difficult to work out just who the people in the uniforms are, but they are attacking what many are presuming to be Ukraine's security forces. All right, we're across the situation in Kiev here on RT International. We will keep you up to date on all the developments. Our online team is providing a live minute-by-minute timeline of the events. You can head to rt.com for those updates, just a few clicks away.